Healthy and pathological love. Neurobiological developments. Abstract love is the most important feeling of the affective life between two people. The healthy relationship between a couple should focus on affective survival, such as respect, trust, desires, likes, humor, among others. From this thought, each person has different ways of experiencing love in a relationship, whether healthy or pathological. Faced with this study conceptualizes pathological love as the dependency of the beloved person accompanied by feelings of low self-esteem and obsession. It is also understood that healthy love is a healthy emotion. This study delineates itself to a neurobiological perspective and presents its problematization in the human experience in its amorous relationships, aiming to describe the positive or negative neurobiological characteristics of love in healthy and pathological circumstances. This research makes theoretical compilation of the current scientific scene of love through studies and pertinent literature. Methodologically, this theoretical reflexive study becomes pertinent from the awareness of the need for advances in the discussion about the topic approached from a neurobiological perspective. It is concluded that both healthy love and pathological love have positive and negative neurobiological characteristics, ranging from physiological, behavioral and psychic aspects due to obsession, control, abstinence and tolerance. However, it is understood with the realization of this study that love should not be transformed into something purely rational or an absolutely biological phenomenon, but rather unveiled in its various biopsychosocial dimensions. Keywords: healthy love, pathological love, neurobiology. Introduction. Everyone has feelings, positive or otherwise. Then, all people, one day, experience the pains and pleasures of shining eyes or yield to the warmth of a comforting embrace, becoming capable of dream, love and experience different emotions. This happens because so much positive as well as negative feelings are evoked with stimuli sensorial, smells and visions. FABICHAK 2016. Throughout life, no showing feelings may be indicative of emotional disorders that they will trigger excessive coldness and rationality. When studying the mind, psychology traditionally separates it into functions: cognitive, affective, and volitional. Feelings are more connected to functions. Affective, as such functions, refer to the sphere of emotions, state, function or condition of a generally emotive character, referring to any emotion, affection or passion. BAGNANO 2007, page 20. Hence the relevance of affection for understand another person's feelings. Given this, with the evolution of science, several neurobiological studies have sought to understand the developments, positive or negative, of feelings in people's lives. According to Espartero Antonio et al. 2008, based on the development of specialized techniques in research neurophysiology and neuroimaging, the range of interest in the study of the neural basis of the processes involved in emotions recognizing the relevance of a primordial brain system to the emotional processing, the limbic system. The expansion of neurobiological studies has helped to underscore the relevance of concepts about feelings, contributing to the study of how each person is influenced by others with regard to characteristics physiological, behavioral and psychological. Authors such as Cesar and Huka Vasconcelos 2016 highlight the feelings have an evaluation personal and an attempt to fit specific into a larger scheme within the subject's own experiences, involving understanding and integration. Based on the pragmatic history of human beings in their love relationships, over time, there is science, gradually, trying to unravel nuances about the object called love. In antiquity, when men and women took shelter in caves and caves, they rudimentarily reflected on the life is of that primitive man, a biped, hairy, with features hard, stocky and covered with furs, grunted his happiness and excitement in dragging the beloved by the hair and carrying her away, romantically to his cave, for a tryst in the beside a cozy bonfire. FABICHAK 2016, page 18. Faced with such a history, it can be seen that centuries have passed and again changes have taken place in an attempt to make the best choice between men and women. According to anthropologist Alan Donald James McFarland 1990 from the University of Cambridge, United States, men and women, around 1700, were encouraged to choose with whom they wanted to get married or not. This happened mainly as a result of the rise of the bourgeoisie, because the effective union did not only lead to the issue of procreation and of political, religious, social status, but also to individualism and expectation that the other person would respond to the reciprocity of the loving relationship. It forever changed the social roles of men and women in marital relationships, with profound reflections on the way thinking to the present day. In this hiatus, during the 20th century, the scientific focus of love migrated from satisfaction marriage to romantic love, turning to issues such as the process choice of a specific partner and in what ways personality and experiences in previous relationships influence this process. Pinto, 2017. Despite these advances, much has been discussed about the possibility of dealing scientifically with issues related to emotion. The SPR idea IAOANTO et al. 2008, page 56. Ferrasco 2017 emphasizes that neuroscience has taken important steps towards explaining the neurobiological basis of cognition, of emotions and behaviors. However, when it comes to life, neuroscience still needs to expand several studies. From Abend's 2018 point of view, the neuroscience of love is a field research that has only recently become the subject of investigations rigorous science. The same point of view is described by the International Graduate Program Medical Neurosciences 2014. He points out that even if psychologists and neurobiologists can correlate brain regions and activities of the nervous system with the feelings of love, identifying the brain chemistry responsible for the emergence of emotions. Science is still far from defining the real meaning of this feeling. In this way, the neuroscience of love is characterized as a complex and recent. Pinto 2017 describes that, within neuroscience, there is a very expensive to study, the neurobiology of love. For Carvalho 2017 in this context, when referring to the concept of love, he notes a plurality and literary multiplicity of theoretical approaches seeking to understand the changes physiological conditions and the consequences of this feeling in people's lives, both in the healthy view, as in a pathological view. Healthy love is defined by Lino 2009, page 3 as a pleasant emotion that gives access to a state of tranquility and emotional stability, allowing access to a healthy and happy relationship between two people. Pathological love is conceptualized by the same author as the dependence of the loved one accompanied by feelings of low self-esteem and obsession. It is understood, in this way, that healthy love is a healthy emotion and pathological love a dependent feeling, characterized in a dichotomous relationship. In this context, Riso 2014 problematizes, noting that society is accomplice of the evil of love, very characteristic of a collectivity that had passed by experiences of pathological love. According to Thought 2012, page 13, the evil of love has become a glamorous description of the anguish sentimental. This sentimental anguish, cited by CME 2012 and considers by Sophia Tavares and Zimmerman 2007, can often lead people to manifest love in its pathological phase, since it presents a certain characteristic of pathological love. Relieve the anguish of having to take care of oneself even when believing that the partner will bring meaning to your life. Of this in this way, people may be subject to an affective dependency. From this perspective, each person has different ways of experiencing and feeling love in a relationship, whether it be as healthy or pathological. Pinto 2017 points out that Sigmund Freud (1856–1939) was the pioneer in the field of neuroscience when studying love in the first half of the 20th century. But it was not until the 1960s that psychology became concerned with the types of love. Martins Silva, Trinde D. Silva Jr. 2013, Sophia 2008 and Sternberg 1988 point out that there are different types and styles for which the love is directed. As examples of types, we have maternal, paternal, romantic, effective, companion, inconsequential, consummate, empty, among others. As examples of style, there are eros, ludus, storge, agape, pragma, and mania. Given the various existing forms of love, one type of love deserves to be special value for the development of this study: the affective love between two people. Within the infinite sphere of elements with which being human relates at all times, the relationship with another human being, especially the affective, is the most relevant catalyst or activator of truth. because it is through the relationship that the human being matures and evolves. Bob, 2017. Thus, in view of its complex approach linked to the emotional aspects and the extreme dependency that prevents two people from establish adequate love relationships, the following question arises. What are the positive or negative neurobiological consequences of healthy love and of pathological love in the effective relationship between two people? This study is limited to a neurobiological perspective and presents its problematization engendered in the human experience in their love relationships, aiming to describe the positive or negative neurobiological developments not of loving healthy and pathological circumstances. Believably, this research makes theoretical compilation to the current scientific scenario of love through studies and literature developed in recent years. It is also mentioned that, methodologically, this theoretical and theoretical reflective study becomes relevant from the awareness of the need for advances in the discussion on the theme addressed, as there is still a shortage of scientific studies related to the area. It is also noted that human perception, with regard to sensations loving relationships, already subsidizes, by itself, the need for a wide colloquium on a subject in constant scientific discoveries. From this methodological engender, love is denoted as a feeling to be which a large part of humanity is possibly subject to conditions social, biological, instinctive, among others. Faced with such an effective swamp recurrent fueled by social behavior with false ideas about the love, this study is also justified by the need to demystify that people need to suffer for love whose protagonists become victims of the evil of love to the point of becoming alienated from themselves and submissive to the other. Considerations on affective dependence. The feeling of love is the most important variable in the affective life equation between two people. A good relationship between the couple should center on fundamentals of effective survival such as respect, trust, desires, likes, humor, among others. According to Carvalho 2017, a relationship seen as healthy is the one that promotes the well-being of the couple through a respectful sentimental partnership, without exacerbated individualism, nor the total abnegation of oneself in the name of the other. However, for Riso 2014, when there is affective attachment, a framework of affective dependency can be set up, as the due obedience, adherence and subordination, which characterize the style dependent, become part of the couple's routine. The multifaceted nature of affective dependence brings progressive and chronic to the addict. Many authors often compare affective dependence on chemical substances because the two conditions have common characteristics that lead people to addiction. For 2012, B. and Goncalves 2010, for example, compare the dependence attachment chemical to attachment to a great friend, wife, or girlfriend. According to same authors, this dependency becomes a way of living in the ongoing self-destructive relationship that can end in illness, crisis, psychosis, madness and even death. Bearing in mind the ideas above, It is understood that love, in a state of affective dependence, leads to behaviors and thoughts obsessive that do not go unnoticed. Martins Silva, TRINVADE, Silva Jr., 2013. When love characterizes a picture of dependence affective bringing anguish, intense suffering, displeasure and unhappiness, the subject is no longer able to have self-control of feelings, putting at risk their own physical and emotional well-being. Sophia, 2008. The outcome creates the unstoppable desire to repeat the sensation of being close to the other, generating a high level of stress capable of causing the total deterioration of health-dependent mind. Faced with this, the person wears out emotionally, loses their authenticity, her own way of being and liking, until reaching a moment when she perceives his characterization and depersonalization as a person. Mora, 2016, Riso, 2014. Goncalves 2010 explains that the most peculiar thing in this situation of dependency is that there is a very strong attachment and huge difficulty in trying to solve the problem. As a result of these problems, the addict becomes an unhappy, moody, anxious, angry and often depressed human being. The repertoire of symptoms of affective dependence, according to the degree of despair and the inventive capacity of the affective dependent, can be diverse, unexpected and especially dangerous. So, 2014. The subject affective dependent concentrates all his efforts to please the person loved one, at the expense of the rest of society. The main symptoms characteristics of a dependent relationship are described by 2012b, and they present physiological, behavioral and psychic disturbances. Chart 1. Chart 1. Symptomatology of dependent relationships. Obsession. The thought of the relationship invades everything. The relationship and the other become the center of life, in a constant and pathological way. Control. The interfaces under the microscope. Studied, analyzed. Books are read. Astrologers are consulted to predict the future of the relationship. Ties in the name of religion, sane or other. Tolerance. More and more proofs and demonstrations of love are needed, while the other becomes more elusive and distant every day. The feeling that nothing is enough begins to appear. Source: adapted from for 2012. End of table. All these characteristics mentioned produce immediate gratification and provide an ephemeral relief that reinforces an illusory sense of well-being. FAUR 2012b, page 26. For the affective dependent, the important thing is the immediate pain relief, and repeating the affective attachment is the best way to anesthetize her. Affective attachment tends to develop vulnerable personalities more safe, influencing whether people will love in a healthy or pathological. Thus, the study of attachment becomes relevant to support the theme of love, as it is based on the adaptive study of biological attachment and mental attachment that makes it possible to understand the developmental functions and neurobiology of love. Love from a developmental perspective and neurobiological. Many authors attribute ambiguous and diversified meanings to the love, and this ends up characterizing them as subjective. The physiologist Fabicac 2016 argues that love has always been part of the subjective world of poets, writers and psychologists who try to explain the secret nature of their loving feelings through poems, songs, paintings, scriptures, construction of palaces, castles and bridges, among others. This happens because the humanity, by intuitively recognizing the importance of love, was concerned with expressing it by dealing with beauty and harmony or with the problems that its lack provokes. Pinto, 2017. For Riso 2011, page 79. The language of love goes beyond the merely linguistic and appeals to sounds and gestures of all kinds. Given the variety and quantity of existing effective codes such as looking at oneself, smiling, scratching, squeezing and snuggling. For 2012, B characterizes love as restorative, healing and nourishing energy, capable of giving meaning and transcendence to life. Riso 2014 links love to a dangerous and attractive, sometimes painful for some and sensorially enchanting for others. But love is not just a poetic sensation. There are also explanations, developmental and neurobiological characteristics that characterize it. According to Kleinman 2015, Freud, creator of psychoanalysis, in 3 essays on the theory of sexuality 1905 through his Metapsychology of Love, believed that the stages of a child's psychosexual development were based on erogenous zones and that failure to complete one of these areas would lead people to lack of gratification when they reached adulthood. Fabicac 2016 sees love neurobiologically as the result of changes in the body and mind, through the interstitium between a limbic system, hypothalamus and pituitary gland. Pinto 2017 describes love as a property resulting from an ancient mixture of neuropeptides and neurotransmitters that act and modify the functioning of the brain. From this perspective, empathy has become one of the main drivers of love because the human being, since childhood, is already prone to feel affection, interest and attachment to other people. In the view of Goldman 2011, as soon as the baby is born, is disturbed by the cry of another baby, an action that characterizes as the first indicator of empathy. According to Bob 2017, the child develops in an adequate way to your need. In relation to love, it is understood that love, for the child, means touch, contact with the skin and physical presence. When the child is alone, even for short periods of time automatically comes into contact with fear and hatred whenever the satisfaction of these needs is not met. This happens, as described Pinto 2017, page 17, because the absence of the mother's presence is interpreted by the baby as a disappearance because he still doesn't have the internal representation of the mother. Another important moment in child development, according to Bob 2017, Page 26. It is when the child begins to feel attraction for the parents, the famous of Oedipus. But for the child, this feeling is natural and does not have the same luxuriant connotations attributed by the adult. So it's about of a common phenomenon of child growth. In this light, it is understood that the formation of a person's personality is linked to the sensory, perceptive and affective experiences that the child develops from childhood to adulthood. For Kleinman 2015, Freud characterizes this formation as stages of psychosexual development, believing that one's personality is, for the most part, established as early as the age of 6, and that, when a predetermined sequence of stages, oral, anal, phallic, latency and general phases, is completed successfully, the result would be a healthy personality. Otherwise it would lead to a bad personality. 6. Given this, it is understood that social relationships in childhood directly influence their interpersonal relationships during the development phase. Development whose result can be a healthy personality or sick. For Cuttery 2014, the healthy personality, proposed by Freud, is one of the main characteristics of empathy, the socio-emotional tool considered, by the author, the most important in the formation of healthy love relationships. Fagbacat 2016 states that empathy is a programmed capacity of human beings, which the brain develops the feeling of compassion and activates the limbic system. The limbic system is a type of emotional center where emotions are processed. This region acts distributing and organizing tasks to different areas of the body, as if it were an operational center. Fagbacat 2016 characterizes the structures of the limbic system as part of the human reward. In these structures, there are cells that respond to reward of food and drink. Others act by reward stimuli, like money, cocaine and sexual desire. About the features and connection of the limbic system with emotional, reward and pleasure phenomena. The limbic system is the emotional brain. Its structures: septum, amygdala, hippocampus, cingulate and nucleus accumbens belong partly to the cerebral cortex 105, but most are part of the nasal or olfactory brain, and they are involved in numerous emotional processes, especially those related to survival, such as fear, anger, pain, pleasure, docility, affection and emotions involved in the sexual behavior. The limbic system also participates in feelings of pleasure, such as those experienced in the act of eating and in the sexual act. Fabithak 2016, page 101102, emphasis added. From this perspective, Pinto 2017, page 20, describes the brain structures most predominant with regard to emotional processes. The predominant brain structures are the tonsils, located one on each side, in the temporal loins of the brain, not to be confused with those in the throat, which are more activated in consequence of hormonal influence. These cores are considered the gateway to the emotional part of the brain, limbic system. The tonsils receive information senses, process them and release stimuli to the trunk cerebrum, the cingulate gyrus, and the hypothalamus, all in the brain. When the tonsils become less active, we allow them to other people approach. They are no longer seen as a threat and more intimate contact may begin. Guo et al. 2013 and Wieland et al. 2014 state that the structures of the system limbic are central regions of the reward system and are associated with cravings, addictions, euphoric states and feelings of reward, thus contributing to the onset of love. According to Fabicac 2016, several scientific studies have identified that some parts of the brain that contribute significantly to the early stages of love, that is, the loving attraction. To understand a little more about the physiology of early love, Fabicac 2016, page 97 describes brain regions responsible for vital activities. Cerebral regions are the brain stem that controls breathing and heartbeat. The cerebellum works on coordination of movement, balance and body posture. Diencephalon contains thalamus and hypothalamus. The neocortex outer layer of the brain, which comprises 2/3 of the mass brain and is responsible for thoughts, functions of high-level processing, perceptual processes, and the ability to produce and understand language. And finally the limbic system, which conducts emotions. These regions receive and process sensory information from the organs of the senses such as vision, hearing, smell, touch and taste, and emotional, interconnecting with blood vessels, glands, organs, nerves and muscles, preparing the body for a new experience, which is love. In view of this, a relevant detail about the nomenclature is highlighted: love and passion. Both in the scientific literature worldwide accepted and in the popular one, the two terms are often considered synonymous. For Gomes 2004, passion and love are synonymous or almost synonymous. 106 Characterized by the emotional and sexual turmoil of the connection between two people. However, it is known that passion is the stage prior to love, as this is divided into three phases in a love relationship. A. Passion/romanticism. B. Passionate love and C. Companionship. Cardoso et al. 2014. Fabichak 2016. The first phase, passion, emanates from a part of the brain called the nucleus, caudate region responsible for controlling body movements, identifying and perceiving the reward. According to Fabicac 2016, experiments have revealed that when the person in love looks at the photo of the loved one, the caudate nucleus is intensely activated, thus triggering the onset of pulled loving. This effect is caused because the human mind is very sensitive to images, colors and visual patterns. Pinto, 2017, page 28. Cardoso et al. 2014 add that, in addition to the brain reward system, the feeling of fear decreases when you are close to your loved one, because it renders him incapable of honestly judging the character of the one he loves. So the passion becomes the keynote of love plots. deepening the strong link between those caught up in the feeling. From the moment in which the amorous attraction begins, the hypothalamus, small structure located deep in the brain, acts as an intermediary of the brain responsible for translating emotions into physical responses. Thus, the pituitary gland is activated, which releases various regulatory hormones into the blood, the function of other glands. These glands release into the blood two important hormones, adrenaline and cortisol, which determine the innumerable changes in body and mind characteristic of early love. FABICHAK 2016. Given the reported aspects, it is understood that the brain is responsible for inciting the onset of love by activating organs and glands, causing several hormonal, psychological, behavioral and social. Fisher et al. 2000 to divide love into three categories, involving different brain systems. Pinto 2017 also points out that these categories of love are fundamental for the beginning of a love story. Chart 2. Table 2. Categories of love. Lust, desire for sexual satisfaction. Attraction, driven by high levels of dopamine and norepinephrine and low serotonin levels, characterized by euphoria when things are going well, or mood swings when things are going wrong. Obsessive thinking and focused attention on the loved one, and intense desire for the chosen partner. Bonding, feelings of calm, peace, stability, experienced with a long-term partner, triggered by hormones such as oxytocin and vasopressin. Source: adapted from Fisher et al. 2002. From the above, the second phase, the passional, which corresponds to the first year of the relationship. In this phase, testosterone and cortisol levels and serotonin return to normal, and the main hormones of this phase, oxytocin and vasopressin, become responsible for long-term affective bonds, generating feelings of security, calm and balance. D. Boer, Van Buell, Terhorst, 2012. The main nuclei involved in this phase are the nucleus accumbens and the ventral tegmental area. Pinto, 2017. As a 107 relationship develops, passionate love fades and gives way to another type of love, that of companionship, an emotion associated with attachment and commitment. Mara, 2016. The third and final phase, that of companionship, is characterized by a decrease in the feeling of passion and the increased commitment to the partner, resembling the feeling of friendship. Cardoso et al. 2014. The hormones oxytocin and vasopressin also contribute to the reaffirmation and bond between the couple. STRKA 2007. The transition from the passionate phase to the companionship phase is a critical point in the relationship, as passion and intimacy wane and compromise is all that remains, generating so-called empty love. Stolzel et al. 2011. These changes mark the existing sequential phases in all effective relationships. In general terms, it is understood that there is an interacting system, synchronically, for the practice engendered by him, promoting a intimate relationship between the brain and the beginning of the love process. The neurochemical cascade of substances that flood the brain when you see the person you love is triggered thanks to this intimate relationship. The limbic system is the link between the emotional world, while the hypothalamus and pituitary gland favor the recognition of the feelings, emotions of the person and of the loved one. This cerebral love interaction is a primordial molecular signaling pathway. For love to have a healthy or pathological character in the affective relationship between two people, neurobiological developments of love healthy and pathological healthy love permeates positive neurobiological developments in an affective relationship and, based on that, what should be built in the relationship is a space where two people feel good about each other. An opinion of Riso 2011, page 6 in Healthy Love, there is no place for resignation nor martyrdom. And if someone has to annul or distract himself so that his loved one be happy, then you are with the wrong person. According to Bush and Bush 2015, the key to a healthy relationship is the adoption of habits healthy based on kindness, honesty, tenderness, and attention. Curry 2014 adds that healthy couples should love not with unintelligence, but showing wholesome love. Regarding the relationship between healthy love and lack of intelligence, the author makes the following consideration. Who only uses the instrument of emotion to sustain the relationship runs the risk of seeing your feelings fluctuating between the desert and the glaciers. In a moment, the person lives the flames of passion. In another lives the glaciers of attrition. On one period they exchange vows of love. In another they exchange blows of jealousy. The unintelligent relationship is intensely unstable, while the healthy has an aura of adventure. In the unintelligent relation, one is expert in complaining about the other, while in a healthy relationship, one boasts in thanks to the other. Curry, 2014, page 7. From this author's argumentative point of view, healthy couples have mental mature, value the essential, companionship, effective reciprocity, mutual dialogue, while unintelligent couples give importance to the trivial, fight at random, waste psychic energy with unnecessary stimuli and hide the freedom of the relationship. Riso 2014 argues that declaring oneself effectively free is to promote affection without oppression, distancing itself from hurtful and approaching tenderness. For the author, deciding to break with the affective dependence on the partner is healthy, as it does not mean that one is fostering affective coldness, but because the interpersonal relationship makes the person more human. Given the above, the interpersonal relationship is seen by Fabicak 2016 as everything that the person does and experiences with real pleasure in order to stimulate the center producing dopamine and oxytocin. For example, we have they make a volunteer work, be developing at work, C traveling to places strangers, and D create the blog. Thus, these examples of relationships interpersonal skills in addition to healthy habits kindness, honesty, Tenderness and attention can be considered positive developments characteristic of healthy love, because, as they trigger pleasure in the affective relationship between two people, contribute to the formation of hormonal variations of oxytocin and vasopressin that regulate the brain reward. Bush, 2015, Cardoso et al., 2014. Those positive consequences of healthy love with the neurobiological system work from the presence of dopamine when you get something and feel pleasure for obtaining it, and the noradrenaline generation. It is understood, therefore, that the brain regions contribute to determine pleasurable relationships, because important hormones are released. The pleasure from healthy love, in addition to being the source of health, it also helps in prevention of diseases. Fagbacat 2016 highlights the scientific relevance of neurobiology of this kind of love on a person's mental and physical health. That relationship between emotions and physical health is studied by psycho-immunoneuroendocrinology. This discipline conceives the human being as an integration of four interacting systems. These four systems are interconnected by complex signaling pathways molecules, so that what impacts one of them has direct relationships with others. FAUR 2012, page 18. As a result, there is an integration that makes love an experience rewarding. Cervone, Francesco, 2014. Such integration takes place between a limbic system and the hormones endorphin, dopamine, oxytocin, vasopressin and noradrenaline, as they have a very important relationship in the formation of the bond-affective relationship between partners in the categories of love, lust, attraction and attachment, and in the reward-pleasure system. FABICHAK 2016. This integration occurs mainly in the first and second phases of love, for providing increased intimacy, commitment, safety, balance that lasts for several years, cortisol levels, in addition to promote the massive presence of oxytocin and vasopressin. D. Boer, Van Buell, Terhorst, 2012. For Esch and Stefano 2005 and Fabicak 2016, the result is some positive neurobiological consequences of love. Healthy effective relationship, reducing the levels of isolation, depression and anxiety, reinforcing the reward system, pleasure and categories of love, lust, attraction and connection, in addition to contributing to improve the health and immune system of those involved in the relationship, as summarized to Figure 1. In the conception of Fabicak 2016, when the feeling of love is not reciprocated, only one side of the couple involved in the relationship stimulates the brain to produce significant amounts of hormones and substances. The author adds that, in view of this, without the signs of reinforcement of pleasure and reward, affection, trust, the tendency is that such a relationship unilateral does not succeed. Page 164. However, the positive neurobiological effects of healthy love do not yet part of the affective life of many couples, since, in most cases, only one side of the pair loves more intensely. Every 10 relationships loving, only one has healthy love. This happens because sick love has become more and more frequent lately. Thus, the idea of owning, having the other as an extension and object of need is a trigger that causes the pathological manifestation. AIDS. 2011. Faced with this, pathological love is an unhealthy affective dependence as destructive as the person's compulsion for certain addictions, such as drugs, sex, its food. The person who loves in a pathological way seeks, in his affective relationships, satisfy unsatisfied affective needs, in the attempt to compensate for them. Carvalho. 2017. Pathological love seems manifest itself more in women than in men because, culturally, they see the love relationship with great purpose and priority in life. FABICHAK. 2016. The person who exhibits excessive love becomes a hostage of the partner and cannot control their emotions and feelings, starting to manifest obsessive-compulsive attitudes. The obsessive features of these symptoms, which involve physiological, behavioral and psychic, are similar to the characteristics of dependent relationship symptoms: obsession, control, tolerance, and abstinence already shown. Faced with such similarity, Table 3 presents a comparison between the symptoms of dependent relationships by 2012b and the symptomatological characteristics of pathological love by Fabicac 2016. 110. Therefore, it is understood that there is a common relationship between the symptoms of the relationship dependent with the symptomatological characteristics of pathological love. Some of the symptoms of pathological love: breathing, accelerated heartbeat, heart, cold and sweaty hands, muscle aches, insomnia, sudden changes in mood, among others, are very similar to those of a person who is stress. FABICHAK. 2016. Therefore, it is understood that chronic stress derived from a pathological love can lead the person to serious consequences. Negative neurobiological tests as shown in Figure 2, Table 3. Comparison between symptoms of dependent relationships and symptoms of pathological love. Obsession. There is exaggerated concern, dedication, attention and whim for the other. Control. Does the person spend a lot of time and energy constantly monitoring the partner? What, with whom, and how? Tolerance. Often attempts to lessen obsessive behavior have no effect. Abstinence. The person tends to abandon old social, professional interests and leisure activities, which he had before the disorder. He lives according to the life of the other. Has withdrawal symptoms if the partner is distant, or threatens to leave the loved one, such as labored breathing, accelerated heartbeat, cold and sweaty hands, muscle aches, insomnia, sudden mood swings. Source adapted from For 2012 and Fabicat 2016. These negative neurobiological ramifications of pathological love are characteristic of the third phase of love, that of companionship, which can lead at the end of the affective relationship. According to D. Boer, Van Buell and Terhorst 2012, if a relationship ends, there is an increase in the hormones of distress. This effect leads the person to make choices for uncertain rewards and causes common feelings of uncertainty about the future. Fisher et al. 2010. The result may reveal rejected people to be more likely to manifest depression. Stossel et al. 2011. In view of the above, it is mentioned that there may be an interconnection complex neurobiological relationship between love and stress capable of generating positive or negative neurobiological consequences. People who present stress control have better control of their physiological systems. Healthy love, pleasure, desire, emotional experiences and relationships. Healthy interpersonal relationships can contribute to the reduction of chronic stress and marriage within a state of pathological love. According to Fathakac 2016, the affective bond between people involves a large hormonal release from the system hypothalamus gland, pituitary adrenal gland, in addition to the release of endorphins, oxytocin and vasopressin. From the creation of this link, a network of emotions and expectations that strengthen the experience of the healthy love, whereas stress, at chronically high levels, triggers pathological affective relationships. Final considerations. In view of the analysis of the descriptions made during this study, it is evident the relevance of describing the neurobiological development's positive or negative aspects of healthy love and pathological love in the affective relationship between two people. In this way, it is concluded that both healthy love and pathological love have positive neurobiological consequences and 112 negative aspects, going through physiological, behavioral and psychological aspects arising from obsession, control, abstinence and tolerance. Through a literary mechanism, it was possible to make a theoretical comparison between the main characteristics of healthy love and pathological love. Like this study, considerations were made about affective dependence, characterizing the love from a developmental and neurobiological perspective, which stood out the effective outcome at the beginning of the love process. The importance of empathy, aspects such as human psychosexual development, the categories of love, the healthy character of healthy love to the symptomatology of relationships, dependence and pathological love, in order to describe the process that turns people full of possibilities and resources into simple spoils to the point of becoming alienated from themselves and submissive to the other, losing all limits, capacities, discernment, freedom, morality, health and often life. It is important to emphasize that there are many gaps to be filled when related to the theme neurobiology of healthy love and pathological love. Throughout the literary consultation for the credible theoretical compilation of this study, it has been observed that most of the literature treats love only from the point of view of neurobiological point of view and is not concerned with studying neurobiology under the healthy and pathological perspective. Therefore, this research presents pioneering when taking into account an organic basis reflection and behavioral Another important detail is that many scientific articles Brazilians, when dealing with healthy love and pathological love, do not seek deep in the study on the theme of healthy love and discuss it only conceptual way, giving more importance to the study of pathological love. It is hoped that this study can contribute to the performance of new tests theorists on the subject. However, it is understood here that love should not be transformed into something purely rational or a phenomenon absolutely biological, but it must be unraveled in its various dimensions in order to offer subsidy so that people can have more behavioral and psychic control in their effective loving relationships. References may be the AGNANO Dictionary of Philosophy. 5. Said. Sao Paulo. M. Fondas. 2007. Abend. G. The Love of Neuroscience. A Sociological Account. Sociological Theory. Thousand Oaks. V. 36. Number 1. Page 88 to 116. 2018. Available at accessed on June 6, 2018. AIDS. T-Slaves of Eros. How to rebuild your self-esteem and free yourself from complicated men. Sao Paulo. Metaphora. 2011. Bob. S. P. To Learn and Be Free. The Foundations for a New Society. 2nd ed. River, January. HarperCollins. 2017. Bush. 80. Bush. D. 75 Habits of Happy Couples. Note translation Lemberg Reisner. Rio de Janeiro. Sextant. 2015. Cardoso. D.S. et al. The Neurobiology of Love. The Phases and Emotions Involved. Nana Cell News. Belo Horizonte. Volume 2. Number 2. 2014. Available at accessed on June 6, 2018. Carvalho. Easy Women and Pathological Love. Pleasure in the Pain of Loving Too Much. Porto. Psychologia da Platinum. The Psychologist Portal. 2017. Available at accessed on June 6, 2018. Sorbonne. Hey, Francesco. Jeff Neurobiology of Love. Danube Psychiatry. Zagreb. V26. Page 266-68 2014. Supplement 1. Available at accessed on June 6, 2018. See Easy AR 80. JUCA Vasconcelos. HP Differentiating Sensations, Feelings and Emotions. An Articulation with the Gestalt Approach. IGD on Network. Rio de Janeiro. V13. Number 24. Page 4-14. 2016. Available at https://www.ig.psc.dr/oj/include/getdoc.php ID=2954 and article equals 492 and mode equals PDF accessed on June 6. 2018. Curry, A. The Golden Rules of Healthy Couples. Sao Paulo. Planetary. 2014. Deboer, A. Van Buell, M. Terhorst, G.J. Deboer. A love is more than just a kiss. A neurobiological perspective on love and affection. Neuroscience. Oxford, New York. V201. Page 114124-. T. STEPHANO. GB. The Neurobiology of Love. Neuroendocrinology Letters. Wienham. V26. Number 3. Page 17519-2005. Available at accessed on June 6, 2018. BSPR Idea IAO Antonio V. et al. Neurobiology of Emotions. Archives of Clinical Psychiatry. Sao Paulo. V35. Number 2. Page 55-65. 2008. Available at accessed on June 4, 2018. FABICHAK. Seed Sex, Love, Endorphins and Nonsense. The Science Behind the Feelings. Sao Paulo. Matrix. 2016. FARISCO. Philosophy of Neurosciences. Brain, Mind, Persona. Translation Maria Dolores Laza and Carlos Daniel Laza. Salta. University Catholic Church of Salta. 2017. FAUR. P. Introduction. In FAUR. P. Loves that kill. When a relationship can be as dangerous as using a drug. Translation Marlo Vasef. Porto Alegre. L and PM. 2012a. Page 17-19. FAUR. P. Relationship addiction. In FAUR. P. Loves that kill. When a relationship can be as dangerous as using a drug. Translated by Marlo Vasef. Porto Alegre. L and PM. 2012b. Page 23-37. Fisher, H. et al. Defining the Brain Systems of Lust, Romantic Attraction, and Attachment. Archives of Sexual Behavior. New York. V31. Number 5. Page 413419-2002. Available at accessed on June 6, 2018. Fisher, H. et al. Reward, Addiction, and Emotion Regulation Systems Associated with Rejection and Love. Journal of Neurophysiology, Washington, v. 104. Number 1. Page 51-60. 2010. Available at accessed on June 6, 2018. This audio was recorded on December 18, 2022, by Sybil Mann Baylor to update knowledge, encourage free reading, interest in scientific research in order to improve self-perception and self-knowledge, and help access to bibliographic references for new searches. Much gratitude.